Time now for the Sports Six Pack with Andrew Rogers.
You know what time it is. It's time to get those questions in for the Sports Six Pack. We're at Hale Varsity Club, the best place to enjoy a six-pack of beer. Maybe bring a group of your friends, some members of the family, of course, over the age. Here to Hale Varsity Club, watch a game or two, and drink some beer. Enjoy the atmosphere. That's where we're at right now. We love recording here, which is why we do it every single day. Now, for the Sports Six-Pack, no drinking is really included for me. Now, Shaner's on the board. He's getting drunk. He's got your questions. Sometimes he messes up, may even slur his words, but that's because he's pounding 6 beers in 10 minutes. Shane, kick us off.
Question number 1.
So is that like playing the Century game?
Yes, exactly. It's almost like Thunderstruck is playing, but you started drinking a 12-pack before we played Thunderstruck.
Nice. Well, just because of that.
Question number 1.
Is A.J. Brown still that guy, or should I trade him for a receiver that doesn't have to worry about a running game?
For starters, if your trade deadline's still going, nice, because at this point in time, in most leagues, the trade deadline is passed. So unless you guys have a trade, like a no trade deadline at all, that's pretty crazy. But aside from that, no, you keep A.J. Brown. This is going to be a fantasy football themed six-pack, by the way. Just a little teaser there. But A.J. Brown is still the guy. You shouldn't trade him. You should not trade him. I know that offense is run heavy, but they still utilize the pass game plenty. And he gets his targets, he gets his production, he gets his touchdowns. You keep A.J. Brown unless you have a stacked receiving core and you can trade A.J. Brown for maybe a void on your roster, whether that's maybe a weak tight end and you're trying to upgrade there, whether it's your run game isn't as strong as it used to be. Maybe you have Najee Harris and he went down with injury. Whatever it is, unless you're getting value and filling a need on your team, you don't trade A.J. Brown.
Question number 2.
Is it time to drop Mike Williams for roster space or continue to... Well, okay.
No, you don't drop Mike Williams. I know he's been hurt. I know he's made of glass. But once Mike Williams comes back, and when he plays, he's always productive. Now, it comes in spurts, and I know that, and I realize that. Mike Williams could either get you 111 yards on 4 catches, or he could, be targeted 8 times, catch 1 ball for 20 yards. I know that it's a roller coaster of a ride with Mike Williams, but his consistency has gotten better this year in particular. And when he's on the field, he's productive. I know the same thing can be said for Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen has an injury that will always linger. Mike Williams is at the point to where you hold on to him, especially if you're in playoff contention, because all he's doing is he's getting healthy for that time of year. When you look at the NFL standings, I know that they snuck away with a win, and that helps them moving further down the road. But when you look at the AFC, and the AFC West in particular, the Chargers are still 6-5. They're still battling to make a playoff run, to make a case that they should be in the playoffs. They have to get by the Jets, and they have to get by the Bengals. And the only way to do that is to have their best receiving options on the field. They're going to try to get those guys healthy. Mike Williams will play down the stretch of the season. You don't drop him. Plus, most leagues have IR spots, so put him there.
Most of them do?
Most, if not all. And if they don't, shame on that league commissioner. And shame on you for joining that league.
Question number 3.
Do I trust Alvin Kamara the rest of the season, even though he has a good playoff schedule?
Yep, he does have a very good playoff schedule. And, you're not trading Alvin Kamara at this point. Like I said, most trade deadlines have passed by this point. So you don't drop Alvin Kamara. That would be ridiculous. I know he hasn't put up the numbers that he did in years past, especially years recently. He's dealt with some injuries this year as well. He had one, maybe 2 big weeks early on this season. One against the Seahawks, the other against, who was it, Cincinnati? He had like 3 touchdowns in one game too, didn't he? I believe so. The production hasn't all been there, and a lot of that is courtesy to just bad offensive play calling. But he's still the best player on that team right now. There's not a quarterback there that makes you feel like, oh, Chris Olave is a must start. Like in some weeks he is because of his matchup, and they have to throw the ball because they're down so much.
Right.
But if they committed to the run more, Alvin Kamara will have his success. His last 3 weeks, 7 for 13, I should say. 12 for 42, 8 for 26, and I'll even go one more week. 9 for 30. Yes, that's nothing to brag about. But think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about dropping one of the top fantasy running backs in football, somebody that was drafted in the first 2 rounds this year. You don't do it. You hold on. He's got a good playoff schedule, like was stated, and you hope that the Saints start feeding their bell cow back like they should be doing.
I tell you what, you go one more week, I'll go one more.
Question number 4.
And not one more question. I'm saying question. One more. Beer.
You know what? Aside from that, when I said he had 3 touchdowns, I didn't even label that week. That was against Vegas, and he put up.
I thought it was. I didn't say anything.
Yeah. He put up.
I was going to say that it put the Raiders.
Fantasy points that week.
Okay. All right. All right.
Let's move.
What one are we on?
4.
Okay. Is Christian Watson legit, or should I trade him while his value is high?
He's legit. He is legit. His breakaway speed is awesome. He, at the start of the year, was getting out some jitters. He finally started catching passes. Whether it's Jordan Love, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, they like Christian Watson, and he is the number 1 option there in Green Bay. He's legit. You keep him on your team. You keep starting him. There's only been one receiver. I was talking to DB about this. There's only been one receiver that has more fantasy points than Christian Watson over the last 3 weeks, and that is Shane's Devontae Adams. So Christian Watson is completely legit. He's up there with the big boys right now, and you keep him while his value's high. You don't trade him.
Question number 5.
Will Swift have more value going forward?
I don't think so. I think his value's right where it's supposed to be this year because Jamal Williams is having a great season for the Detroit Lions. They are feeding Jamal. Is that who I said? Who did I say? Did I say Jamal? I thought I did. Yeah, Jamal. You were looking at me and smiling like I said the wrong name there.
Jamal
Williams is having a great year so far, and his numbers are right around what they were in Green Bay, I would say. And he's just getting a full season's worth of production. I like Jamal Williams a lot. He's getting into the end zone right now, too. They're feeding him on the goal line, which is what every fantasy manager wants to see. DeAndre Swift has taken a back seat because of his injuries. And he started off the year strong. And I won't say that he didn't. I won't say that he couldn't come back from this. But the way that the Lions are coached right now, they favor Jamal Williams. They favor Swift when it comes to the pass game. But Jared Goff has been good enough for that team when it comes to throwing the football. And he likes to throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown more than he likes to throw it to DeAndre Swift. So I'd keep Jamal Williams, and I would keep dampering your mood by telling you that Swift will not have more value going forward.
Question number 6.
How does the return of Deshaun Watson in Week 13 affect Amari Cooper's value for a fantasy playoff run?
How could it not affect it in a good way? DeAndre just got done talking about Swift. Deshaun Watson, put your personal feelings of him aside. He is a massive upgrade for this offense. And this Browns team, like I said, I've said this a while ago, and I said it on my fantasy football podcast, God Bless Fantasy Football. Go check it out. That's also on Hurrdat Sports, along with the Sports Six-Pack. I said this a while ago that he was dealt in order for the Browns to win a Super Bowl. And they didn't expect all of this baggage to kind of follow, but you did not trade your future for Deshaun Watson and not expect to get to the playoffs, let alone get to the Super Bowl. So Amari Cooper's value goes through the roof now that Deshaun Watson is back. I mean, just think about what Deshaun Watson did with DeAndre Hopkins in Houston. That's how it's going to look like. That's what it's going to look like with Amari Cooper. That type of connection. I would wonder more about who's going to be the Will Fuller of the Browns offense. Is that going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones? Maybe. How's David Bell doing? Anything? We'll see. But in regards to Amari Cooper's value, hopefully you still have him because it's going to be a fun fantasy football playoff ride for you.
Speaking of Amari Cooper and what we were talking about in the dump earlier.
Yep.
Probably bad trade there again for the Raiders. I'm just throwing that one out there. They seem to have a history of that.
They sure do.
They
sure do.
Maybe they'll write a book about how to do that.
Hey, we're all about writing books, right, Channer?
Feeling tipsy yet? Catch more of Andrew Rogers from 7 to 9 in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio.